What I wanted to share with you today was one of the projects that we're working on, which is an orchard restoration project. And in the Hopi language, Gwangwatsoki refers to a fruit tree or something that bears, a tree that bears fruit. Today in the Hopi community, we've seen a great decline in the production of fruit and also in the knowledge base of people actually knowing how to take care of these trees and being able to encourage, the trees to produce fruit and all the knowledge that goes along with that. And so myself, I'm not an orchard keeper, but my husband is. And so I'm used to sitting around in conversations in our community, basically listening to my husband and other members talking about trees. I didn't realize there was so much to trees, but now today I'm, during the times when we have workshops and things, I'm sitting there listening to all this knowledge, and I just never knew, there was that much knowledge around trees, but there is. So it's not just about putting the tree in the ground and just, basically letting it be on its own. A lot of the orchard keepers where I'm from, they really take care of these trees, and all through the different seasons, there's different things that you do to care for the trees. So the trees and the plants are in essence like children. You take care of them and you help them to grow. And so basically this project is an effort to restore some of the older orchards that have existed there and the heirloom trees that have been out with us for a number of years and number of generations. And so some of the varieties that we have out on the Hopi Reservation are older varieties of white peaches, apricots, and we also have vines, grapevines, and other fruiting plants that have been there and have been cultivated for hundreds and hundreds of years. Just like this region, you have a pretty rich history of growing fruit. And so out there, in our communities, these varieties aren't grown anywhere else. They're specific to that region. And so therefore our taste and our knowledge has, grown along with that. And so we have workshops throughout the year in how to properly prune, plant, transplant, mulch, and graft fruit trees. And so I was really happy when I came to this conference yesterday, because one of the first people that I saw when I entered the area outside of here was a man named Gordon Tooley. And yeah, definitely. And Gordon Tooley is basically of Tooley's Trees up in Truchas, New Mexico. And he came out to our communities a number of years ago and conducted the first fruit tree grafting workshops that we've had in many, many generations. And from that, our community has been able to learn about fruit tree grafting and taking scion cuttings and being able to continue those old mother trees. And so that's really important work that we're doing, and I was really happy to see him. And we have some of his trees that we've planted in our communities as well, so those are going to provide fruit for the next generations. And so we work with, through this project, we work with families, clans, and villages, and we plant new orchards and restore the older orchards that have provided us with fresh fruit for a number of years. So one of our big goals is to support the establishment of fruit tree orchards in every Hopi village, for every Hopi family, as well as in all Hopi schools. So that's a big goal, and I know it's going to go even beyond me into the next generations. So since 2006, we've worked with a number of villages and schools on the Hopi Reservation and also in neighboring Navajo Dene communities. And we've worked with a group called the Fruit Tree Planting Foundation, who provides donations of fruit tree orchards to our communities. And we've worked there to plant numerous orchards there within these last few years. So in my own village in Kykotsmovi, we've planted 3 community orchards, and each orchard has 40 to 100, or even in some instances since the past few years, 200 fruit trees. And the varieties include peaches, pears, plums, nectarines, apples, almonds, jujubes, cherries, almonds, and pistachios. So we have a number of varieties of trees, and last year was the first year that we've seen some fruit from the pistachio trees there, so we're really, really happy about that. And so all of the orchards are on micro sprinkler irrigation from our local wells there, and that was a pretty big issue. A lot with the issue of water is very important where I come from, because we don't have a lot of it. And so the community feels like if we do have access to water, this water should be used for the benefit of the whole community. So these orchards here belong to everybody. Different community members donated land for us to plant these orchards on, and when the fruit begins to come into production, the fruit is for the benefit of everybody, the whole community and the whole village. So that was something really good to see. And this work, this fruit tree work here, brings together all generations. Everyone's so excited about it. And so when we go into the schools, we basically work with every class, and we work with hundreds and hundreds of school children. And we plant these orchards there at the schools and in the communities. And through this work, we've been able to impact so many young people and teaching this knowledge. And so wherever my husband or myself or other orchard keepers within our group, whenever we're in the community, that's what people, that's how they recognize us. They say, oh, that's the fruit tree guy, or anywhere the orchard keepers within our group go, or if they're together, people in the community are always asking them, do you have trees? Do you have, this and that? And so that's something that they're known for. And their profession as orchard keepers within our organization is very highly valued in our community, which is really good to see. On the Hopi Reservation, we have a number of different types of agriculture. One of them is dry farming, and another type of agriculture that we have is called terrace gardening. And so among the mesa areas where we live and the ecosystem there, we have a number of springs that are basically running year-round, and these springs provide irrigation for terraces which are down below. And so we work with the terrace garden restoration project, where we've planted a number of fruit trees there as well with their community. We work with young orchard keepers who are, just little guys. A lot of the young orchard keepers are children of our certified orchard keepers and members of our trainings, community members who come for trainings. They bring their children. And so these little guys, when we have workshops and we have, my husband or other teachers that we brought out, other orchard keepers within our organization, when they're presenting to the community, they present in a way where they're involving, the audience, involving the community members. So they'll ask a question such as, a really technical question such as, okay, when we plant the tree, how far down do we plant it? Where is the graft line? All these different things. So they'll ask certain questions to the audience, and the ones that'll be raising their hands answering a lot of these questions are these little guys in the audience, because they go to all the presentations with their parents and they learn about all this knowledge, and it's so good it's so funny, and it's also so good to see these young people, raising their hand. They just know everything. And so usually the older elders in the community are arguing with these little guys about the knowledge that they have, because they just know so much. So it's just funny to see that when this little guy raises his hand and answer, and this older guy will look over at him like, oh, little guy. But it's all in, it's all in fun. But it's really good to see that. So through the projects that we're engaged in, there's greater awareness of the importance of local food production and agroforestry, which means basically replanting these trees, replanting, the trees that are going to sustain us through time. And with fruit trees, the benefits of fruit trees are just so many benefits. And the inputs that we put into taking care of them are little, but they're also very important. And so basically, in combating erosion and building healthy soils. And so where we're at, we have so many problems with erosions. We have so many problems due to recent development with compaction of soils, things like that. And so a lot of the knowledge that we've had for many generations as Hopi people, as indigenous people, has really gone away. So through this project and through all of us as a community and youth relearning this knowledge, we're able to begin to find solutions to the problems that we face. And I really hope in the future that, a lot of you will be able to come out to where we're at and to begin sharing that knowledge with our ranchers out there. We're able to conduct workshops and trainings in many of those villages, but it's so widespread out there, and there's so many communities that we have a lot more work to do. And so I'm hoping with this next generation of apprentices that are working with us, they'll be able to do that work in their own communities and villages. And so we're also basically wanting to be involved in more training and certification, so to get that training for our apprentices and our young people. And so I'm really interested to learn more about those organizations that are here who do provide training. Also, one of the things that we like to do is to establish local fruit tree nurseries, so that we can continue our grafting work and also continue to to grow new generations of trees that'll be available for the community. Work with families and clans to preserve historical fruit trees. So that's ongoing work that we'd like to be engaged in and involved in. One of the big things that our group and our community is really concerned about is our local watersheds there. I don't know if anyone has heard about flooding during the monsoon seasons on the reservations, but this past year on the Hopi Reservation we had some late monsoon rains, and when the rains come, they come and they pour, even though we only get 9 to 11 inches of rain per year. When they come, it's just there's so much water, and people aren't set up in the communities anymore to harvest that water and utilize that water in the landscape. And so all this water just channels, and it creates huge erosion problems. And so our communities are faced with flooding and different problems like that. And so members of our community, especially the older people, would like to see more restoration and to learn more about the watersheds, how to restore those watersheds and utilize that water for agriculture and irrigation. And also just continue building healthy soils. That's one of the things that we're always interested in, and one of the things that we do pretty much every day is trying to interact with our ground and our land, and through composting, mulching, and other applications that we've been involved with so far, our soils are becoming healthier, and that's that soil restoration is going to be there for the next generations. And so I'm really happy about that, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to come to this gathering, and I'd really like to thank all of you for the work that you're engaged in within your own area, within your own community and family. And I feel like this work that we're all involved in somehow is making a way for the next generations, and that's always important for us to be thinking about them in the future. And so I want to thank all of you for allowing me to come here and share the work that I'm engaged in, and I'd like to learn more about what you're doing, and I want to encourage you on your path, Asquali, and thank you.
In your community, with the harvest, how is the harvest distributed?
Usually throughout each families or within clans, they have certain land that they have access to. So throughout the season, these families and clans plant in their traditional areas, and the harvest from these fields, we're talking anywhere from 5 to 30 acres of land that are planted. So from these acreages of land, the produce and the harvest is distributed by the women of the clan or the family. So they harvest and then they offer it to women within their own clan. And if there's other people from the community who don't have that access, they have an opportunity to come harvest from these different fields if they're within that clan. So usually people are able to have access to that. It's the men, mainly the men, who are doing the large-scale farming. But in our culture, the women are the ones who harvest, and they're the ones who distribute food, and they're also the ones who take care of the seeds for the next harvest time. So it's kind of distributed out in that way.
We have time for one more question. Does anybody else have a question? Great. Okay.
One more.
Yes, we have one. Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you didn't really say much about nurseries. You start from seed in your own nursery?
We've started with grafting a number of years ago, so we have some seedlings, several hundred seedlings, or not seedlings, but graftings that we've been taking care of, but we haven't had the proper area for taking care of those graftings, and also we want to grow some trees, peach trees from seeds as well. And so what we want to do in the next year or so is to be able to create community nurseries where we can start growing not only trees but grapevines and other fruiting plants as well. So we're in the process of doing that, but that's one important thing we see ahead of us.